making the unfamiliar familiar and the familiar unfamiliar, which means making the patterns that we don't want less familiar to us and making the patterns that we do want more familiar to us. And it's a beautiful thing. It feels complicated at first, but the more you kind of chip away at these things, the better it gets. And that's why with RTT, we have the recordings so that after the session, each night or each morning, you're letting those things come into your subconscious. You're letting those things flood your system. These are the things that you do want. And what it'll eventually do is override all of those, so to say, negative patterns that we've been looking to get rid of. And that's really the beautiful process. Repetition really is the key here. A lot of people, oh, I've heard that before, I know that. But coming from beginner's mind and really allowing yourself to go through the repetition over and over and again, because that's how you got to where you got. I mean, driving is a perfect example. When you're 16 or 15 and you're just learning to drive, it's like, oh, push the clicker. Oh, put the seatbelt. Oh, I'm going left. I'm going right. Check this. It's exhausting when you first learn to drive. But now we all get in the car, we go from point A to point B, and it's like, how did I get here? You know, I was literally on autopilot the whole way. And so I believe that process, we can make that process happen for the things that we do want. We can make positive self-talk as automatic as driving our car.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention too, because sometimes people ask, why is RTT different than just adding positive thoughts and things like that? Because a lot of people talk about positive thoughts and understand that concept. But what I like to say is that what RTT does is it goes in and it makes room for positive thoughts. So if you're not dealing with what's underneath, what lies beneath those old beliefs in the subconscious, then you're just piling the good stuff on top of the bad stuff. And there's not that much room for the bad stuff. For the good stuff. But what RTT does is it goes in and it removes the old negative beliefs, the old patterns. It's like pulling up roots or, weeds by their roots. And then there's this big hole there that the positive thoughts can then fall into. And so I found that a lot of people who are attracted to RTT have done all kinds of self-help work and all different kinds of seminars and read so many books, which is wonderful, but have not been able to get them to stick. And what I found for myself is that when you do RTT and you do remove those old things, it gives room for all of that work that you've done throughout your life to finally sink in. And so nothing is not useful. It's just so much more useful, everything you've done after that. So for me, that's the difference.
I love how you put that. Mm-hmm.
That's excellent. Daniel Siegel talks about a thing called mindset. And I think what RTT also does is it helps you to realize that you are not your beliefs. You are not the feelings. You are not these things that you are so familiar with. You are not that, because it makes room for you to be able to stand back and go like, oh, I'm aware that this is familiar to me, or I'm aware that I react like this in a specific way. But with, like you were saying, Nicole, with the recording, you start becoming aware that you can make those things unfamiliar. And this whole ability to have mindset, to be able to stand back and observe yourself and go like, oh, so then once you've had a session, you can now start applying the breakthrough you've had in one area of your life to actually help you become aware in other areas of your life where you just assumed a certain behavior or a certain, reaction. And you can go, oh, let me just think about this one. Is this now that my actual authentic self reacting like this, or is this maybe a belief pattern that's driving me to react like this? And that whole ability to be able to stand back and observe yourself and go, sure, let me just think, is this coming from maybe a childhood patterning, or am I modeling something that I saw as a child, or is this really useful to me?
I love that. And I want to repeat, what I got from this conversation, which was so great. It's like you imagine taking something out. And I think, just kind of, we generally think, okay, this is wrong, I need to take it out. But the point that we're making here is if you take something out, you need to put something in order to replace it. And that's where this process has been for all of us. I mean, this is, if you want to know a little history of, why this group came together is, we just love all of the different ways that the RTT has worked for us. You can see that we've all been around for a while, and we've tried so many different processes and modalities. And I think the frustrating part for people is they'll read a book, okay, get present, okay, read a book, okay, meditate, read a book, okay, make a list, do this, do that. But what it's not doing is seeing your particular things that you have grown up with, your particular beliefs, your particular traumas, the things that you've actually gone through. I think some of these self-help books actually make us feel worse about ourselves because for the most part, we haven't been able to accomplish these things that these self-help books or gurus tell us to do. And that's because it's an inside job. We need to figure out or have help figure out what it is about us that continually runs these patterns. I'm not enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not worthy. We need to find it at the root, pull it out, and then put good stuff back in, because we just pull it out. And this is where I really struggled with certain therapies. It's like we'd find a trauma or a root cause of something, we'd bring it up. It's like throwing all the leaves in the air, but everything then just falls back and nothing gets fixed. And it's almost worse because it's like, oh, now I've unrooted some of these other memories that I didn't have before, but I have no actual way to make sense of it or to fix it or to get rid of it or to change it. And that's where, I love this process, because we're going in, digging it up, but then we're replacing with good stuff. And I've heard it over and over again. I know that there's a lot of hypnotherapies where it's just suggestion, but that's the beautiful part about this one, is that it's an interactive. You are running the show. The client is always running the show. What is going on for you and what is the outcome that you want? And then it's our job as a therapist to help you and guide you with what you want, not with what we think would be good for you, right? So in a typical therapy session, there's the therapist, the authority, who's like, I think this is going to be good for you. Now you need to do it. Whereas in this interaction, you as the client, or the client is the one in charge, saying, this is what I want. Right? This is what I want to get rid of. This is what I want to fill it with. And then it's our job, we're more like the sculptor. Oh, this is what you want. All right, let's help you get this together.
Thank you so much for joining the conversation at Speaking Subconsciously. Remember, you are always enough. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.